Welcome everybody to the Sunday evening in Holland, that is, and I guess it's still morning in Canada, right?
Yeah, it's morning. At least in West Coast.
West Coast. And you're in the West Coast, right?
Yeah, I'm
Or
in West Coast, but if
yeah.
you're in East Coast, it's afternoon.
Yeah. Well, it's been a while. The bigger picture had a break for, I guess, a month, maybe
More
even
than a month. I guess
yeah, more
last
than a
thing we
month.
did in November.
Yeah, wow.
And actually, I think our show was early November because I think the last couple shows we did with Adam and Topher.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah. So like just the bigger picture between you and me was just like 2 months ago.
Wow. Well, anyway, so we have a really cool show lined up for you. This might be actually a two-part show. We're first going to focus on the alien stuff, and then hopefully we can still fit in the geopolitical stuff, but otherwise we'll save that one for part two, and that will be next weekend. Because there's a lot of cool UFO stuff that came out. And actually, we talked a little bit about it, or at least I talked a little bit about it in the UAP, the podcast last week, which is going to air. The rerun is going to air after this show. But when you really dive into the story, it's super duper cool. It's called the Verginha UFO incident. And the Verginha UFO incident involves a series of events in 1996 when residents of Virginia, Brazil, claimed seeing one or more strange creatures and at least one unidentified flying object. The reports garnered extensive media coverage. Other associated claims include the capture of one or more extraterrestrial beings by the Brazilian authorities, animal fatalities at a zoo, and a woman impregnated by an extraterrestrial. An investigation by the Brazilian
one of
army.
those stories.
Yeah, so okay, I'll save the entire thing, but you can look it up on Wikipedia to get sort of an idea what it's about. But when I first heard about it, I thought it was sort of nonsense because of all the wild claims.
Yeah.
But turns out it might be true.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Let's see.
Let's go.
Let's see the evidence.
Okay, this is from Area 52. Always forget his name, but he does great work, and I think he got like the premiere. This is the intro to the interview that he did.
I don't care what people think about this documentary if they don't watch it. Watch it. That's all I care about, is that you watch it.
Chifre na cabeça, algum óleo no corpo, tinha pé grande, uns olhos super regalados, vermelho.
I don't think there's a better, more well-documented recent case in the world. They captured one.
Criatura que estava ali no cantinho, acuada, com medo.
Some of the most compelling eyewitness testimony into a alien being.
It was like an entire family, and they all saw this object, and it was really big, shaped like a disc. Zero noise.
A police chief saying, yeah, there was aliens.
The alien was alive in this bed right there. And so they came up, I don't know, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the morning, they came out there and they saw this cigar-shaped submarine or the size of a big school bus.
E ele desceu.
All the animals were going crazy. And he said he got out of the car and the smell was so overwhelming, like ammonia and sulfur. There was some sort of weird chemical acid on the grass. It was burning the grass.
I had forgotten that he had touched the craft,
Yes.
that he had a piece in his hand.
Yes, I could feel that anxiety in my stomach. Carlos de Souza, gone. Unreachable, 26 years gone.
Once they did the test on the bacteria, determined that this is nothing like they've seen in their entire careers.
It was a strain of a bacteria that they've seen, but not the way this was evolved and the way it was, nothing could stop it. It's the biggest, most significant development in the history of the phenomenon because I challenge anyone out there to show me testimony from anyone, particularly a neurosurgeon.
An active neurosurgeon, not retired.
Not retired, who's putting his entire career on the line to say, I had face-to-face contact, telepathic communication for 3 to 4 minutes with an alien.
Okay. What is your initial response?
No, I know this story. I believe this story. I'm just like not sure about impregnation.
Okay, cool.
Like because like we can DNA test it, right?
True.
And if we have a human alien hybrid, that's like a crazy story, man. So
That's
I'm not
really
sure about that part, but everything else, yeah, I believe this story. This story is true, 100%.
yeah, and it's wild, and I got 3 more clips from this interview, but I recommend everybody to watch the entire thing. It's 2.5 hours, but it's worth it. We're gonna do a couple of highlights, but there's much more to it. And then we're gonna do something really cool because we're gonna do some detective work and link it up to other cases, which will be very interesting.
Yeah.
So, are you ready for the testimony by the neurosurgeon who's actually still working because they couldn't fire him because otherwise the hospital
Yeah,
had to close.
neurosurgeons are hard to find, right? It takes time to find another neurosurgeon. So, yeah, let's roll.
And especially one that saw an UFO, or actually an alien, I should say. Oh, okay,
Yeah.
here we go.
And decided to come clean on what exactly he saw. Now, he puts his reputation on the line as a neurosurgeon. He is someone you would trust to operate on your brain for 13 hours straight. And as we find out later in our interview, was actually fired due to his earlier comments prior to the release of this documentary. And they have since reinstated his position because the hospital couldn't function to its fullest capacity without him. So if you're thinking that he is not fit to be a doctor because of these claims, you are sorely mistaken. He is still a practicing brain surgeon. I will let the video play for itself in its original language to convey both his emphasis, his cadence, and his genuine message, after which the podcast will begin. Please enjoy this message from Dr. Italo Venturelli.
Meu nome é Ítalo Danelli Venturelli. Eu juro que o que eu vou dizer para vocês é verdade, nada mais do que a verdade. Sou médico há 46 anos e em 1996, no dia 20 de janeiro, eu fui chamado para ver um paciente, né? E quando eu fui ver, não era um ser do nosso planeta, né? Que fui chamado eventualmente para dar minha opinião sobre o caso, e eu vi o caso sob o ponto de vista médico. Consciente, sem dor, sem sangramento, respirando bem, muito calmo, muito tranquilo, parecia uma criança de uns 7 anos, branquinho, não tinha mau cheiro, a cabecinha grande, mas em forma de gota, né? Boca pequenininha, uma das mãos estava dentro de um campo e outra para fora. O olho não era vermelho, estava lilás, também em forma de gota, e me olhou de uma maneira muito tranquila, não estava agitado, não estava agressivo, não estava com dor, e na minha opinião não estava com medo também. Na minha opinião, estava entendendo o que estava acontecendo ali. É um olhar muito bonito de ver, um olhar assim sem julgamento, né? 2 vezes ele olhou para mim, olhou para a janela, olhou para mim outra vez. Eu senti assim, eu fiquei próximo dele, né? 1,5 metro, assim, não toquei nele, mas eu fiquei próximo. E a maneira de olhar é uma maneira assim que ele parece que era uma inteligência maior do que a nossa, do que a humana, né? Que ele estava entendendo, apesar de ele estar assim numa situação de defesa, ele não estava com medo, ele estava entendendo o que estava acontecendo, né? Possivelmente deveria ter algum propósito, alguma coisa para estar fazendo o que ele estava fazendo. E a verdade é que eu sou testemunha ocular, eu vi o ser sim. Podem falar o que for, brincam, zombam, falam uma porção de coisas, mas eu vi ali, deitado na minha frente. É importante as pessoas saberem que não estamos falando de dinheiro, estamos falando de uma coisa que muda o conceito da humanidade, né? Que é um ser de um outro local. Eu fui lá, não fui procurar, eu fui lá por um acaso, ver um outro paciente e eu vi. Então eu acho importante as pessoas saberem que sim, quem fala que viu, quem viu espaçonave, vimos, nós vimos mesmo. E não é fácil ficar aqui na frente da câmera falando sobre isso. Que perguntam, parece que a gente está mentindo, você tem que insistir. Já jurei que vi mesmo e vi, né? Que os seres mais novos acreditem que existe sim.
So that was the testimony.
Okay, so he looks very genuine. So I have no reason to doubt his testimony.
No, me neither. And
Yeah.
there's more footage, of course, where they sort of talk to him, also from the documentary that was made. And in every scene, and especially when he sort of talks about, the encounter, he sounds very emotional, and it's very hard to fake those kind of emotions. And yeah, I totally agree with you. I think it's absolutely authentic.
Yeah, but I have like more questions regarding that. Was like military involved in it, and why he was there, not the doctor, but the alien in the hospital, and then what happened after? Who took it?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, those are genuine good questions. And of course, the region has been known for many sort of UFO incursions, both good and
Yeah.
bad. But in Latin America, it seems to be more often aggressive in its nature. And there's
Yeah.
definitely also government involvement.
Also US government, because most of the things happen in Brazil, I guess, and US has a very strong presence, especially whenever you read about the alien story, there is always a US government or US agents involved in that.
Yeah, you actually, this is a nice list of some famous Brazilian cases. So you got the Antonio Vilas Boas abduction in 1957 is a very famous one. One of the earliest well-documented abductions claims worldwide. And the most famous actually is the Colares UFO flap from 1977 to 1978. And that one actually had the military involved in a really big way. And there was definitely also a cover-up, which was sort of uncovered later on. And this was one of the biggest, most famous or infamous cases where also citizens or people in Colares were attacked by what appeared to be glowing balls and orbs and UFOs from the sky. But you also have this incident, official UFO night in 1986, and of course this new one in 1996, the Verginha. Oh, new one, 1996 is not that new. I thought I had it open. Okay, sorry. It helps if you can actually see it. Here we go. So, here are some of the more famous cases in Brazil. But you also have them, of course, in Peru. We're also going to talk about Peru and some other places.
Also, it's not just recent history, it's like ancient histories. All their even gods, the gods they worship, like they are considered to be aliens.
Yes. And we're gonna also definitely talk about that. So I imagine, like, people who are watching this, especially people from crypto who don't really know much about UFOs, or maybe they do, but you might be skeptical, right, about this case and the claims being made, even if it's like an active neurosurgeon.
I think you're just argumentative. If a neurosurgeon is saying that, just believe him. Otherwise, prove him wrong, right? Why would he risk his life, right? Not his life, but his career.
Absolutely.
For that, especially as a neurosurgeon, like if he make a lie like that, because like he doesn't need money. Neurosurgeons are rich no matter where you are, in which country you are. Brazil is not that bad of a country anyway.
Yeah.
So there is no reason for him to lie unless like what's the point? Also, he's risking his career, so he's gonna lose money. So I don't have a reason to doubt him.
But I think I totally agree. But I think it's useful to play this next clip because it sort of ties into the skeptics. Wait, I have to check if I put it on the right spot. No, I didn't. See.
Like always.
Yeah, I got it there. I think
that's how we roll, man. No worries.
Wait. Yeah, okay. Here we go.
If anybody's skeptical, I'm skeptical of them and their motives now.
Yeah.
Because if you're coming up to me after watching this, reading through the documents and looking at all of the evidence that you've brought forward over the last 15 years, if you're going to sit here and tell me that this didn't happen, I'm skeptical that you're probably part of the cover-up. That's where I'm at with this case now.
Yeah,
and I don't say that lightly.
You'd have to be like
No, you'd have to be absolutely in on a cover-up.
chief of police, 2 forensic pathologists, head neurosurgeon, guy that ran 3 different hospitals in the area, the head neurosurgeon
Who's still active.
working there today.
Yeah. He's risking
He has
everything.
everything to lose and nothing to gain by coming forward. It's like, plus the chief of police, plus the military actually drove it, plus the 3 girls that came face to face with it in broad daylight,
Listen,
10 feet away.
it's overwhelming.
The guy the guy that took the X-rays. I mean, there's so much evidence, so much compelling firsthand eyewitness testimony. Then you got the video of a craft matching the description in and around. Oh yeah, it's a little to the south, but at the same year, it's just, oh my gosh, yeah.
I mean,
incredibly.
how many millions did everybody get paid to be on camera for this documentary, James? That's what we all really want to know.
I know, right?
Especially the neurosurgeon.
Yeah.
Can you imagine?
I tell people
He's a neurosurgeon. He makes enough money.
I could give you an hour-long story behind every interview and how it came about and how difficult it was to obtain. And people are terrified all these years later still, you know. But there are power in numbers, and I encourage people to come forward and join this movement.
Let's talk about Valkyria, Liliane, and Katya.
Yes.
The 3 girls
Yes.
who witnessed this being.
Yeah, so I'll stop it there. But I think this is a really nice piece where they sort of tackle the skeptics. And like you said, like, a neurosurgeon is not gonna lie about this stuff. He was actually fired over it, right? And then reinstated because they couldn't lose him. But
They can't replace a neurosurgeon. It's like you have to put like 2 decades to be a neurosurgeon to study and practice. So it's not easy to replace an intelligent guy.
no, absolutely. And neurosurgeons are also not people who usually have flights of fancy. I mean, they're quite. I imagine they're quite level-headed and fact-driven, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
Exactly.
So, but they also saw the ship, and this will be the last clip from this interview, and then we're gonna make some really cool connections. But there was also the UFO, the unidentified flying object that they saw, and this video clip is about the UFO.
I'm glad you caught that.
Yeah.
It was amazing, even to see him have a branch, because the craft that crashed there was like a tube-like structure, was like some cigar-like, and with a breach in the hull, and it was like it was going down, and he kind of did this, and then he went like this, and I'm like, because when you're explaining with your hand, the UFO is here, and then it went here, you don't really visualize it, but when he had the stick and he went like this, and I was like, whoa. That must be so wild to witness.
I have that stick in my office.
Really?
In my edit room. I look at it every day.
Yeah.
I do. And it even had like a torn bit at the backside,
Right.
which is exactly what the craft he described. Everyone who saw the craft either struggling in the sky said that it had a tear in the back of it and it had like a white vapor smoke coming out.
The farmers that live nearby.
Yeah. Enrico and Oralini.
Yeah.
The Fretas.
They also said there was a breach in the back.
Yes, and they said that they wouldn't have heard it or seen it had it not been for the animals on their farm going
the cows,
crazy.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah, all the animals were going crazy. And so they came up, I don't know, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the morning, and they came out there and they saw this cigar-shaped submarine or the size of a big school bus, all like aluminum cigar, aluminum with a gash in the back with white vapor, not like a smoke from a fire. They described it as a white vapor coming out the back. And she was like, I was just waiting for it to hit the ground. Like it was struggling to stay in the air. Silently. Then we have a new witness. And for the first time in this cut, we got maps, Google Maps, and we did, graphics of like, okay, this is where this person, this is Furtado, this is Orlina, this is where the actual thing crashed according to Carlos, and it all made perfect sense.
Yeah, of course.
It was right there. It's like,
What a beautiful visualization for anyone trying to piece that together, because if you've not been, you have no idea.
No, and you don't know if they're going to all align. You
That's
don't
right.
know at the time. It's like when we got the map, it's like, oh my Lord.
You guys did that in the first one with the sort of suburb of.
Sorry, I turned off my microphone.
No worries.
But you know,
No
that's
worries.
also really wild, right? That all the testimonies line up. You know, that the ship that has been witnessed by these people, that it's actually in the spot. You know, basically that the accounts match up, right?
Yeah. And we are at the point we have like thousands of stories like that.
Yes.
So now it's like you can't even say that some people are making. Why would so many people will make up stories and in different decades? It's not like just like there is like a wave of it. It's just like constantly since 1950s we are hearing stories
Yep.
year after year and everywhere in the world. It's not just one place. So at this point, I think we have enough evidence that they are real. Now the point is like we need to figure out what's actually happening instead, and why the US government is hiding it, or the governments of the world, because it's not just US government. Chinese are doing the same thing. They also have some sort of technology.
Absolutely.
Russians are doing the same thing.
And there's a lot of fascinating stuff about this story. But one of the things that really stood out to me, because I was talking about it with Adam and Tove in the last episode, and I asked, because Adam said like that the neurosurgeon, I mean, you just saw it, but he sort of said like, oh, the encounter was beautiful. It was, you know, it was very peaceful. It was very, you know, a very great encounter with this alien. He was not aggressive or agitated or irritated or whatever. And he had lilac eyes and a pale countenance, and he looked very peaceful and calm. But
Yeah.
if you notice in the earlier, when the other witnesses described this creature, or another creature, but I suspect it's actually the same creature or a similar creature.
I think there was a difference because he was describing a short being. The other ones are talking about the tall beings with the smell, because he said there was no smell, and other witnesses said there was.
Yeah,
smell.
but what if they're more like chameleons, right? What if they can actually shapeshift? And
or what if there are two different beings and he was being hunted? They were the hunters, and he's in peace because he's now under the protection of the government. He knows his life is safe. This is also a possibility, because we are just making
yeah,
possibilities,
true.
right?
But
Because the other two in the field, they were violent and they actually attacked the villagers.
yeah, but what?
And this one is not doing this.
Perhaps, yeah, and maybe you're right, and like you said, we're just speculating. But
Yeah, exactly. But no, continue with your speculation. I was just giving
yeah,
my thoughts.
what if, for example, they crashed because apparently it crashed the UFO, and you know, when you come out and you're in a hostile environment, maybe at first you react very aggressively and defensively, and maybe when they're aggressive and defensive, they become black and get horns and you know, red eyes, like you know, like some animals can posture defensively. You know, like some lizards can, you know, show colors, or you know, chameleons can change colors. So maybe it was like a defensive posture to scare away potential attackers. You know.
Yeah. But one thing is, my thing is like, it's one thing to change your color, and then other thing is to change your whole shape. That's like we are just going into a lot of assumptions.
Yeah.
Like they can shape shift,
Yeah.
they can grow horns and everything. But like if I have to, like, this is my opinion, if I have to choose between, like, there are two alien races which were fighting, one was hunting this guy, that makes I make myself like more comfortable in that story, because that is more believable.
True.
to me.
Yeah, I know. But this will be sort of a conjecture of mine, and I'm gonna sort of try to make
Yeah.
it reasonable. But I understand that, you know, it's easier and safer to make less assumptions. But But for example, what if that is the case, and what if they are threatened and in this defensive posture, they sweat, and what if their sweat smells like ammonia and sulfur, right? Because that's sort of what is described. Well, when they are calm and peaceful, when they're collected, they don't sweat. Like we also don't sweat when we're and then you don't smell anything. So I want to add this piece to the puzzle.
Yeah. Okay. We are going with this conjecture.
Yeah. So
to continue your theory, let's. Yeah.
So they are kind of manted, like, right? I mean, the big eyes, and so you when Peru was under attack, remember when those villagers were being attacked by these hoverboards, and they were probably people, right? But they also spotted some stuff like this.
I honestly can't understand what I'm seeing. It just looks like something with multiple limbs and possibly large black eyes, but it also seems to be morphing or changing in shape, which I don't know if that is some kind of distortion caused by the movement of the flashlight, but there seems to be something there. And I slowed down the footage so that you can take a closer look in slow-mo. I don't know what this is. However, according to reports from Peruvian news agencies over the past 48 hours, there seems to be multiple people in this town that literally were busting caps in these intruders' asses.
So anyway, I totally admit, and I totally realize that this is a very fuzzy, very hard to make out video. But Timothy Alberino, right? Timothy Alberino went to Peru to investigate these hoverboard attacks and spoke to these villagers. I actually armed them and taught them, how to defend themselves. And he also went to this place where they saw this, where they made this video. And he showed convincingly in his documentary, or sort of his travel log, that there was something standing on that rooftop that isn't there when you go to the place and look at it. So something was standing on that rooftop. That's a fact.
Yeah, but they also look like the plasma beings which we have been talking for a while now. So plasma morph anyway, right? It could be those plasma beings.
Yep.
Just fell from the sky or something, and then they captured. And when you're gonna capture, it's gonna look blurry because it's plasma.
Yep. No, totally. So now we're gonna go to this this totally seemingly unrelated thing. This is one of the victims of Epstein, Juliet Rose Bryant.
Okay, that's totally unrelated.
And,
actually, not unrelated. I think there is a connection, but what I'm saying, like, the topics is just flipped from aliens to Epstein. Okay,
okay. You actually saw some of this. I'm not sure if I showed you this particular thing, but I found this super interesting connection to this case. Listen to it.
Okay.
In New Mexico. And him and the vice governor came out and they looked me and the other girl up and down. It was like they were having a meeting, and then they went back inside. And another thing, it's weird that I'm mentioning him when I'm mentioning them, because a weird smell came out of that room, and I smelled the same weird smell at the hotel at the Cape Grace when Clinton, because it looked like Clinton and Epstein were actually sharing a hotel suite, as far as it looked like, because he went into one room and he walked through where I was doing the interview, and I smelled this weird, horrible smell come out there. And I smelled the same smell by the governor of the New Mexico's house. And I thought it smelled like feces and urine. But one of my friends said, Juliet, geez, this sounds like it could be the smell of a dead body. But, I don't know. But it was just like, I've never smelled a smell like that before. And it was very creepy. And it was also disguised with cleaning chemicals. But I could smell it.
Well, there is...
Okay. So... I did some digging.
Okay, before
Okay,
we
go
go, now I understand because I have heard this testimony before. I never made a connection. That actually is a really good connection between those Brazilian story and this
Yeah,
one.
you're gonna love it because you wanna guess what smells like urine and feces?
What?
I'll show you. Give me one moment.
Let's see.
Here we go. Did I share it? Oh, I didn't share it yet.
No.
Here we go. It should appear. Yeah. So, what smells like urine and feces is sulfur and ammonia.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. Especially in certain contexts like stale waste, sewage, or concentrated bodily fluids. This olfactory confusion is common because because human waste contains chemical compounds that produce very similar pungent, sharp, and rotten smells. And then I go,
You know who also smell like sulfur? Demons.
yes. And then now it sort of goes.
Hillary Clinton as well.
So he says, in short, it's not just possible, it's chemically expected. The smells aren't identical, but pungent, acrid, or foul qualities overlap enough that people and even scientific descriptions frequently mix them up, especially with aging or concentrated waste. If you're noticing this in a specific situation, it might help to identify whether it's ammonia, sharp, or rotten egg, sulfurous. So I found this super interesting. Because if you go back to that interview that we just saw, she also says something else that's very interesting. And that is, let's see, 22 minutes. Here we go. Which also ties into this story. Here we go.
Things that you're suspicious of, and that's never going to see the light of day.
Well, also, where Epstein lived in New York on 71st and 5th, Bill Cosby lived like across the road. The other sex predator who was put in prison.
Right.
Woody Allen lived pretty much nearby. Maybe there's something underneath there too. Why do all these people live in the same area? You know, there's a lot of weird stuff. And also in New Mexico, it's quite clear that it seems like there's something underneath there.
Yeah.
And also, you know, you've got, it's directly in between Roswell and Dulce base. You know, where a lot of weird things have happened, and you know, there's just too much evidence on it. And I saw a UFO when I was there, you know, outside at New Mexico. I went to have a cigarette and I saw a weird, like, lights flying, and then I had the weird thing waking up in the lab. And you know, it's so creepy because I can't place when that happened, but I know it happened.
Yeah, let's talk about that. So waking up in a lab, this was not on the island, this was in New Mexico.
On the island, I saw him
Okay.
in the bedroom.
Let's talk about that first, and then we'll touch on this lab experience as well. So, can you explain what you mean by shape-shifting here?
Well, when I was in the bedroom with him, because he used to take me into that small bedroom, and it was always dark and really cold, and then it was almost like when he was orgasming or something. Like I looked at him, and suddenly his face like grew like big, like this, and then I saw these huge black eyes like this, and then a big mouth with this horrible tongue and like this sort of dragon horn stuff, which is like almost like the devil, or, you know, I mean, I can't explain really what I saw, because I saw it like, I mean, I can explain it, but it's like so hard. I did paint it, but I burnt that painting because I just hated it. But I can paint it again. But I just, I saw him turn into this horrible, creepy thing. And I wasn't on drugs, I wasn't drinking alcohol, nothing like that was allowed. Like, like a lot of people think there were parties going on there. There weren't any parties. There was no alcohol, absolutely not allowed. Like, I smoked, but I had to smoke far away, and hide. And I had to wash my hands after smoking. And they were very fanatical. They did not like things like that. But I could have been drugged. I don't know, because again, when you're in a place like that, they could slip something in your drink.
Yeah, but even on drugs, that doesn't mean that everything you're experiencing is not true.
True. Yeah, and then Jay Anderson also points out that she might be traumatized and imagining things during the, to sort of deal with it. Or
no, she's having sex. It's not like I know she's forced, but like from there to imagining an alien is like a big leap.
I totally agree, but I find it interesting. So there's a couple of things that I find super interesting here. First of all, sort of the connection to the smell and the smell connection to aliens. Then she points out that these
Yeah,
locations.
before we go, like, okay, if she was imagining like that alien, but she's also smelling, so it's not just one sense; it's multiple senses which are involved in that.
Yes, yes, yes. And then, and it's close to these bases. And, the Epstein files have often been connected to, Pizzagate and the tunnel systems, the supposed tunnel systems that run everywhere. And of course, she also saw the UFO. And the description that she gave of the shape-shifting the shapeshifter is actually that of the Verginha red-eyed alien with horns, right? I mean, it's almost like to the T, right? We didn't see the drawing, of course, but it has horns. It looks demonic. The smell matches up. She saw an UFO. It's also clear, as Adam and Topher pointed out. I didn't locate those clips, but I think our journalist made the point that Epstein was involved in, finding Atlantis, and these UFO technologies were definitely on his radar, and he was actively involved in that area. And what I also find very interesting is that she was not allowed to drink and smoke. Because just think about it. If your sweat is actually, first of all, if you're like cloaked, like if these beings are actually cloaked, like they're pretending to be humans but they're actually alien. But if they under certain circumstances sweat, and if their sweat is ammonia and sulfur, and you smoke, you burst into flame.
True.
Right? So you would be very, very aggressively against smoking, and also alcohol, right? Because if they, for example, need concentration to stay into their cloaked form, they don't want any alcoholic beverages that might mix up their spell that they cast.
Yeah. Also, maybe they are projecting that image into her head, right? But if she is impaired with alcohol, then it will be hard to do that.
Yes, that's a good point. That's a very good point, actually. I didn't think about that, but that's a really nice. Yeah. That could definitely also be part of it.
Yeah.
So we already mentioned there's like different kind of aliens. So I want to play this little clip. This is from a former CIA officer, Virgil Armstrong. And this is about the New Mexico Aztec 1948 recovery. And these kind of aliens are very similar but different.
They were different from us, but they were nice little guys, really.
No.
There
So
were
very short clip.
5
Okay.
bodies aboard, all of them dead. Yeah, they had asphyxiated. What had happened, ostensibly, they had blown a portal. And so they suffocated, due to lack of support system.
What did they look like?
Little guys, 3.5 feet.
Is it like the small cries people talk about?
They weren't like the Zeta reticuli grays. No, their eyes were different. The Zeta reticuli grays have almost insectoid eyes, These little guys had nice eyes. They were kind eyes. The 5 occupants, one of them was just under 4 feet, and he obviously was a commander because he had epaulets on his uniform. And one of the smaller ones, the 3.5 feet, also had epaulets, so he was obviously the assistant commander. The rest of them were dressed in very tight-fitting silver uniforms. And so now, characteristically, in other words, the physiognomy, they had no hair anywhere on the body. Huge eyes, an outsized head with the body, no ears, because the ears had atrophied. The nose had atrophied. The mouth was immobile. And so it wasn't like our mobile mouth, So obviously they communicated with telepathy. And so the bodies were taken off of the craft and they were flown back to Wright-Patterson for examination. And
Wright-Patterson Air Force Base.
yeah,
That's
right, in Ohio.
Ohio.
And of course, they had a very great difficulty getting the uniforms off of them. They couldn't cut it. They tried scissors.
It's not like
no, it was a material that we didn't know. Nothing like here on the globe, I should say. But they couldn't cut it with scissors, and yet it was thinner than a newspaper page.
Amazing.
It is. So finally, they had to resort to metal shears to cut it, and they finally got the uniforms off of them. And then, of course, they examined the bodies. They were all male. They had male organs, genitals, and what have you. But again, like the ears and the nose, it had atrophied due to non-use. They were no longer sexual and didn't need the ears to hear and all that. So they were different from us, but they were nice little guys, really.
Okay, so he's describing some aliens. In diagrams, I don't see ears, but I see like holes where ears should be. So it's like they do have ears. It's just they are not out.
Yeah, and it's fascinating because he sort of says they are like grays, but they aren't grays. But even though they share a lot of the same features, right? Because grays also don't or hardly have any nose. And I was also wondering about the nose, right? Maybe because they don't have a nose, they also don't mind the smell, right?
Also, by the way, just because they don't have a nose at the place where humans should have a nose, that doesn't mean they don't smell. They could have nose somewhere else, like a smell, sense of smell somewhere else. Because they are not humans or they are not from Earth. They have a different physiognomy, right?
Yeah, definitely. And also, right, I mean, what smells bad for us might not smell bad for the creature or the the alien, right? So that's another thing. So I now want to jump a little bit into what happened in Venezuela, but we'll head back right to the aliens. This will be a very short detour, but I want to play this clip. I got it via Adam, Breakaway Civilization. Right. Super interesting clip, actually. Where did I put it? Oh, here is this. Okay, I got it.
A security guard that was protecting Maduro has spoken, and you got to hear what he said. It's in Spanish, but I'll translate. Also, Trump announced that, the cartels, they're going after him in Mexico. The whole vibe of Latin America has changed because of what happened in Venezuela. And now that we're getting firsthand accounts from people that were there, the soldier says they didn't hear him coming. He says the Americans had technology superior to anything they've ever seen. Everything that they were using for radar, for anything, was completely taken offline. They had drones, and the drones were taking out bases and taking out things faster. They didn't have no technology. They've never had to fight against drones. He also talks about that there was only 8 helicopters. There was only 20 men that were sent in. And those 20 men killed hundreds of their men. And none of those soldiers were injured. He talks about it felt like they were firing 300 rounds a minute. Nothing they've ever seen. Nothing that they can compete with. And then he also talks to the fact that the Americans had some kind of sonic shock boom that was sent out, and everybody immediately started bleeding profusely out of their nose. They couldn't even gather themselves because whatever was sent at them made them fall to their knees and vomit blood out of their mouth and out of their noses. They were incapacitated immediately. He says he never wants to go through that again. Doesn't want to have to fight with the Americans again. He's sending warnings to everybody out there that you think you can fight the Americans. You don't even know what their weaponry is like and what they're capable of. 20 men took out hundreds, and that's starting to spread all through Latin America. And now they're not saying, if you want me, come and get me anymore. They're like, oh shit. Especially after Trump says, hey, Mexico, you're on the list too.
So,
Uh,
what
okay,
is very
you go first, then I will say a few stuff about this clip. I've seen this clip, by the way.
okay. Yeah, so depending on if it's real or not, right? This is just a clip from somebody. I'm taking it for granted, right? I'm just thinking that he might be actually telling the truth, but maybe he's not. But if he is, then I think we might have seen a place where they tested similar equipment.
Mm-hmm.
What do you want to say?
Okay, so a few things. This is what we called CIA propaganda. They want people to fear United States, so nobody can stand up to them again. This is what's happening here. By the way, why I'm so confident about that, because this whole thing was live broadcasted. There were hundreds of videos out, and the 100 people who died, they didn't die by US soldiers firing 300 rounds. They died because United States Air Force jets dropping bombs after bombs. There were like hundreds of bombs dropped. There are like countless videos out there. There were no silence. It was like so loud. There were a lot of helicopters. Yes, there were 20 people involved. But what happened over there, it was nobody would have expected it, because everybody thought we are civilized human beings who follow international law, that no matter how much disagreement we have with other governments, we don't go and abduct their leaders. If that's the standard, then Putin would have done it so long ago. It was so easy for him to abduct this Ukrainian guy, Zelensky, but he didn't, because he is following the law. Trump have done so wrong here. Like, I can't even tell you that he have set the very bad precedent. And this whole thing is a Hezbollah. I'll just call it a Hezbollah, because they are doing these tactics to people to fear, but that's not what happened. It was bombing who killed 100 people. Maduro was not expecting them to come and the abduct the president. This is insane. So this is what actually happened. And I was like in some spaces too, but I was like gathering all the information and collecting and sending it to people just for the information gathering. It was like so obvious that people who died, they died from bombing. Nobody would have expected it. There were some people from Venezuela on the spaces who were saying that, okay, we can see what is happening and we are just waiting for the orders to go and fight. They were not even expecting United States soldiers to come down and do that. They were just like every other war, they were expecting them to drop bombs and go away. This is what happened. But now everybody is mature. They know what happened now, what can happen. So I don't think people will take United States easily. It's not like uh, people are afraid of United States now. They are just disappointed, because what happened, it's insane. You could have used other tactics.
So, but you got the president of Colombia who's now heading over to the US, right? To talk with Trump.
Yeah, that's fine. I'm not saying that. They are just disappointed in the sense that you can't expect anything from Trump. So, so he can do anything. So, what they're gonna do? They're gonna wait 3 years, let him go out, and then things will back to normal. It's not like, yeah, obviously Latin America cannot fight. They don't have anything. They cannot fight United States. They don't build anything. All their weapons come from United States. They cannot fight United States. So they have to compromise. They will just wait few more years. And during that time, there will be so much hate against American. Actually, it's happening around the world. You think people hated American before? Now they're gonna hate them so much. And this will keep brewing. And then stupid Trump is going to go to another war in Middle East, which will destroy everything. So Trump is like gone nuts, and he's just like harming United States. It's not going to end well for United States. Eventually, everyone will kick them out of their country, and there will be so much. Like, you think the fall of Rome was bad? You don't know what's coming from United States. all because it's Trump, because of his stupid policies.
But
So I am not like Democratic guy. You remember, like I was happy. We did the election coverage. I was so happy for them, but then this dumbass have destroyed everything.
yeah, no, and we're gonna talk about that later. But I want to stick to the alien thingy.
No, but I wanted to say what's happened. This
Yeah.
video was like whatever. Now let's go back to aliens.
No problem. So in case you can be 100% right. I mean, like you said, it could be pure a psyop and CIA propaganda, like they often do. But it does kind of sort of resemble these stories from Peru, which I want to play with Timothy Alberino.
In greater detail than anyone else, she described how it was on the forearms and on the shins, and the chest was some sort of these guys coming on another platform up the hill and lands and positions himself in front of her and grabs her leg. So now she is being held by two of these pelacadas, face peelers, one behind her with a hand over the mouth and the other has her legs. The description she gave me of these individuals is identical to what everybody else was saying to us. They were dressed head to foot in black body armor. She even described the body armor in greater detail than anyone else. She described how it was on the forearms and on the shins, and the chest was some sort of a breastplate, metallic, and they were wearing these helmets, these large helmets, elongated helmets. I covered the entirety of their faces. So the very same description that everybody else gave to us, this is what Talia encountered. They were very tall. One of them, which she calls the gringo, was taller than me, considerably taller than me. The other, I think she said, was about my height, if I recall. That one I dubbed the Peruvian. The reason why is because according to Talia, these individuals spoke Spanish. The taller one, she says, spoke Spanish like me, like a gringo with an accent, and the smaller one spoke like a Peruvian. And I specifically asked Talia, the Spanish that this individual spoke, was there an accent? Was it Ecuadorian? Was it Bolivian? Was it Cuban? Or did it sound like Peruvian? Did they have an accent? She said, to lift her off the ground, and for some reason they were having a hard time. So they took her behind this hut that's there on the property. And then they proceeded to take out a powder. The Peruvian put some powder in his hand, and then he put some cream. He had this little bottle with cream in it, and he mixed the powder and the cream together. Then he took a nasal syringe, he sucked up the substance and shot it up her nose. Then they took out a larger tube, almost like, it sounded like, and I asked her, like, sort of like a large toothpaste packet. And they put the cream on their hands. And this was the guy that had her from behind. So recall, the gringo has her from behind. He's covering her mouth. The Peruvian has her by the feet. And the gringo proceeds to smear this cream all over her face. And she said that her face instantly went numb when the cream was applied, and it began to swell. And she even tells us that at that point she heard the Peruvian guy say, be careful, don't apply too much. You're going to ruin the flesh. And then she later explained that what she heard them saying was something about how if they apply too much, the flesh is going to stick to the skin when they take it off. Something along those lines. It wasn't exactly clear, but something like that. And then, and I may be skipping some minor details, and then they took out one of them took out a small device that you and I think is a laser scalpel, and they began to make an incision in her neck. In other words, they were very likely going to peel her face off, just like the legends say. At this moment, Talia began to struggle. She began to lift up the mask, the helmet of the guy behind her, the gringo holding her from behind. And as she was doing this, somebody, I think it was him, or if not the Peruvian guy who was holding her legs, one of them slapped her in the face. And when they did this, they dropped her. And this gave her a moment in which her mouth was no longer being covered, and she was able to scream. So she hits the ground, she screams. Her brother and her family members are on the other side of the house on the porch, sitting there outside. They have their flashlights on them. Talia's brother gets on the scene with his flashlight. The neighbors are up higher on the hill. They come down with their flashlights, and they all see the same thing. What they see are two individuals, these two individuals we just described, dressed in black, head to foot, very tall, hovering on these platforms, on these circular platforms. And Talia is lying there on the ground, bloodied up from the incision in her neck. Her face is swollen. And Talia says that at this moment, she heard the Peruvian face peeler say to the gringo, let's go, let's get out of here. And the gringo replied, no, we can't just leave her here. And according to Talia, he proceeded to grab her by the hair and try to drag her and perhaps lift her off the ground on his platform. The neighbors see this. They have their flashlights. They start to yell. And eventually the gringo drops her. And these guys maneuver themselves to where there's an opening in the trees. And they lift off the ground at a high rate of speed and disappear into the sky.
Sorry, I keep turning off my my microphone. I find
I'm turning that off too.
Such a fascinating story. Watch
amazing.
the entire video from Timothy Alberino because it's, he actually went there, right, with his friends. I think the guy that he's actually talking to in this interview is one of the I think he was an ex-Navy SEAL or someone in the military, and they went there together to supply these villagers with food, but also ammunition and weapons, and train them to sort of protect their village. And then did sort of a extensive investigation, interviewing all the witnesses and, collecting all the information. And it's a fascinating story. And I think you, me, Adam Tover, we all agree that there was at least a very big human faction involved in this.
Yeah.
And there's military bases all around that area. Mm-hmm. And like you say, the US is, very much involved in that area. So this is
also, there was like in Indonesia, that triangle UFO. The humans were involved in that trafficking as well.
Yeah,
It wasn't just alien. It was like human. Like the testimony is like the people who were working were the U.S. Army members, because the way they were behaving, the way they're talking, was like U.S. military. And they were smuggling human beings to God knows where.
Absolutely. And in this map, you see sort of the places, the villages, and the cities that were sort of plagued by these humanoid beings on hoverboards with highly advanced weapon systems, collecting faces. There was also a young boy who actually got part of his face removed. It was hospitalized. I think there's photos online. You can check it out. So they were actually collecting faces for some reason. That's why they're called the face peelers.
Yeah.
But it's a wild story also.
Yeah, but I still don't understand why they were doing that. Like, I don't know. Even if you not to put it as a mask, right, on their face, there has to be some other reason, maybe some scientific research they're doing, or some just to put terror into that. But I don't see a reason just to peel the face other than putting terror into the people.
Yeah, and what's also very interesting is that they were very tall, because I think Alberino is like 6 feet something. I think 6'2" or 6'3". So they're one of them was much taller than he was. So that's that's very tall, and they had
Yeah.
elongated helmets, which is also very interesting. So maybe they are biologically enhanced soldiers, or crossbreeded, hibernate.
They could be aliens anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah, not even crossbreed. They could be like one race of aliens which is working with the United States to do evil stuff. Also, it could be just US soldiers who are designed to look like that, right? Because they were wearing helmets. So they could design those helmets, and they could have taller boots. They could be tall guys. So it could be multiple factors.
Yeah, no, definitely, and of course, if it's an alien, they can probably very easily mimic our accents and our language. Right? I don't think that would be a very
Oh, yeah.
difficult thing for them. Or maybe they
That's really
even
good.
have like a translator box, like you see in movies.
Or yeah, like a Star Trek.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Why
every
not?
alien, they can communicate with everyone, right? So that could be a thing.
Yeah. So also,
They have like what they call it, like universal translator.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so as often people say they are not aliens because of the voices and the fact that they spoke.
Yeah, I don't believe that. That's like a very weak argument.
True that. Yeah.
There are like
So,
Indian people who speak English in American accent. If you're just listening to them, you won't even realize that's just an Indian guy. Because
but
people can mimic voice easily.
yeah, no, definitely, yeah, absolutely, and but one of the things that they were definitely also doing was testing these weapon systems, like these advanced weapon systems on these populations, right?
Yeah.
So I think one of the reasons, or one of the things that the U.S. Army, or this Black Op organization is doing there is also testing these advanced weapon systems. Besides peeling off faces for unknown.
Yeah, that's not very advanced, but sure.
But the face peeling is super fascinating. I've no idea. Maybe they needed, when we sort of talked about shape shifting, maybe they need the face and then the rest shifts with it or something. I don't know. I'm
Yeah,
just
there
making
is like a legend about reptilians, right? They take the human skin and then they put it on. But I think that's a
Yeah.
really dumb way to do it. Like you can do it like better. There are better ways to do it. Like there are synthetic masks which will work better than just putting the skin of someone else.
But what's the legend that you refer to?
That reptilians,
Yeah.
they take the human skin and then they put it on. That's just like a conspiracy. I don't buy that one. I've never bought that one, but they say that reptilians actually steal the skin of a human and then they put it on. So they are like humans. You know the old TV series V?
Yeah.
They have
Super
like the
cool.
same thing going on over there. They
Yeah,
are
but
like putting the skin on.
yeah, but, I mean, one of the things that is kind of fun, I'm of course, I studied philosophy, so I like to sort of speculate. This sort of,
No,
um,
actually, that's the best way to do, right? Because we don't have actual facts. We know something
yeah,
is there, but we don't have anything else. So we have to speculate to figure out what is happening, and then we have to speculate not just one thing, but we have to speculate like whatever as much as we can, so we can actually have the right theory, and then we can compare which one makes more sense.
yeah, and the shape shifting thing, does pop up over and over again. But maybe they need some sort of physical aspect, like a piece of flesh, in order to take over the entire physical shape of that
Yeah,
person.
but my thing with that is like it's just this face peeling thing is only a legend in this specific area. If they were doing that, the aliens, then we would have more stories like that around the world. Because most of the stories about aliens are same everywhere in
Mhm.
the world. This
True.
is one specific area where this is happening. I think there is like more just like they want to scare people or something. This is something like that because even right now there's like a fire in Argentina. Why they are doing it? So they can clear out that forest and then they can sail the land. This is like
Yeah.
a very recent uh, story. And it turned out there were Israelis who put the bombs in there who started the fire. That's the whole big story right now. It's always them. They always fuck it up. But anyway, so this could be this story because they are the native people. They want to get rid of them. So if they scare them, they might go and then they can take over that land. This is
Yeah,
a big
I think
possibility.
the original story about these attacks was that it were miners, gold miners that were using jetpacks in order to scare away the local populations in order to take over the land and start mining, because they work with cartels. So it was sort of like a cartel / gold mining operation in order to, with jetpacks and weapon systems in order to scare away the local population. That was sort of the cover story that, that the Western media ran with.
But this could be a possibility, right? Because like if I put all the possibilities, this is one of the best and more rational story out there. So I'm not going to discount that. Yeah.
No, definitely. But the way sort of the girl describes it is that they were very interested in the skin itself, right? So that because if it was just for scary, just to scare them, they could have flown away, immediately after they got discovered.
If something is just flying over, it's not going to scare them. But if you take out, because this face peel, there is like a history of face peeling. In that area, there is like a long history of face peelers.
That's true.
There's like a legend of that. So there is a possibility that, like Scooby-Doo, they take the old legend and then they put a mask on. It's like that. Yeah. So they could be like, they saw that there is a legend. People are already scared. Okay, let's bring that legend on and let's scare. By the way, I'm not saying that's how it happened. I don't believe that, but I'm just saying that's also a possibility. There is also a possibility that there are aliens who are doing that to scare them, but for some other reason. Maybe the aliens want to build a base there or something.
Yeah, or they need, for some reason, there's something underneath the skin, the glands, or whatever. Anyway, let's move on to. We're gonna stick sort of in the general area because it's super fascinating, and this is of course one of the most recent discoveries. We also talked about it a little bit, but it just gets more interesting by the day. This is from Jay Anderson.
3 fingers, 3 toes, some of them have eggs inside of them, they have precious metals surgically implanted into their bodies, they are over 1,500 years old, and they are being found in a country that is known for some of the most alien-looking architecture from the ancient world. Organ structures like a tubular heart, axial reproductive canals, skeletal features like fused arm bones, even microscopic details, intact fingerprints and healing bone fractures, a developing fetal form being visible on the scans, a tiny tridactyl embryo with skeletal structure, curled in a womb-like space.
Lo que significa que estaba del lado de Cristina con una gestación. Esta es su cabecita, parece. ¡Mira! ¡Ya está!
In this episode, we are diving into the tridactyl beings of Peru, also known as the Nazca mummies, taking you through the research findings in detail so that you can have an educated perspective on why these bodies are not so easily dismissed as a hoax. There are definitely moments in scientific history where evidence is placed on the table that, if ultimately validated, forces us to redraw the boundaries of what we think is possible. The ongoing study of these tridactyl mummified specimens from Peru is presented by its proponents as one of those moments. This may represent a genuine biological discovery of global significance, although the critics would argue that this is simply an elaborate hoax.
Yeah, so what is very interesting here is that the Verginha aliens and most Greys, as described, also have 3 fingers and 3
Yeah.
toes, but they're also tridactyl. But this, of course, is one of the biggest stories out there.
Yeah. By the way, just before you continue, I'm just seeing a lot of propaganda against these mummies right now, and it's
Yeah.
coming from Lou Elizondo's team. Not team, but like his toadies, basically. The group who supports that. So they are going after these mummies, and I think they are real. There is
I-
like a lot
yeah.
of scientific evidence to prove that these mummies are real.
I absolutely agree. It's a shame the university is not of high esteem, so it's not like a renowned university that they're being studied, but they are being studied, and they are being put to MRIs and to CAT scans and you name it. And you know, they even have implants, right? They found 10 implants embedded into the tissues, and a lot more, like even a fetus, an unborn fetus, which also has 3 fingers and 3 toes. And of course, you also had the Atacama humanoid that Stephen Greer found in the Atacama Desert, of course. That was in Chile, I think, the Atacama Desert, which is also close by, but that was like a tiny alien. But in this case, they also find different types of aliens, right? You got the big ones that you saw the video of, but you also saw the one with the eggs that was almost looks like a stick figure, and that's much smaller. And then you got the Atacama alien that Stephen Greer described, or described. He showed it, which has like a 9% difference in DNA with human beings. And Gary Nolan was also involved in that study. And it was 7 years old of age, right? But that one was tiny. That was like, what was it? 9 inches. It was super small.
Yeah. But there is a difference, right? They are real. There is no evidence to debunk them. With those ones, there are plenty of evidence to debunk them.
You mean the one with the eggs?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I'm talking about the small ones, the Mexico ones.
Yeah. But those were also sort of part of this group. But the one that was debunked, the Mexican one, was during that presentation. There were also people selling trinkets and sort of replicas of these bodies, and apparently they sort of investigated those replicas, not the real ones that were presented. So.
But Gary Nolan, he was like very much against them. I'm gonna give him, because he's like a scientist, right?
Yeah.
So he actually studied them a lot, and he said that his conclusion was no, they are fake because they're like altered. These ones, they are
but
not.
I think in this case, I don't trust Gary Nolan.
No, I agree. But what I'm saying, like, okay, we have one scientist, even though we don't trust him, there is no other scientist who is saying it otherwise. So we can, like, we have nothing over there. In this case, all the scientists are saying this is real. And
No. I mean, Gary Nolan admitted that the DNA that the DNA that they found, the 9% difference, was from Nolan himself. But what Nolan said, like, that was just a coincidence because this humanoid just had it was just very unlucky because it got all the birth defects on the planet at the same time, and that's why it looked like that. And
I think later on he actually told, as far as I remember, that those mummies were like not even the real body. It was like different body parts were joined together to make that mummy. That was the final conclusion. That's why they were dismissed.
No, that's the other one. That's not the Atacama alien.
Oh, that's the other one. Okay, sorry.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm mixing it up.
Right, I'm gonna try to see if I can find that one.
Well, anyway, let's continue with these ones if you can't find it, because it'll be hard to find those ones. Yeah, maybe I'm mixing it up. It's early morning for me, right?
Yeah, no problem. So this guy, the one that Josh McDowell, I'll give him a follow, actually. He's a Colorado Spring attorney.
And he have a law firm.
Yeah, and he says
Okay.
the X-rays, CTs, MRIs have been done on many of the bodies. These images are not faked, manipulated. I've been in the room with 3 top US forensic experts, a pathologist, an anthropologist, and odontologist. That's somebody who studies teeth, a Peruvian surgeon, and a Mexican forensic doctor. As imaging was done live on several bodies. Note, this tridactyl has a broken leg and broken ribs. We have proposed a course of forensic examination and genetic testing to determine their nature. Peru does not have ancient DNA labs or state-of-the-art imaging modalities due to laws, cultural patrimony, and international treaties. We have been working to obtain permission from the Peruvian government and Ministry of Culture to do a cooperative investigation that is both culturally sensitive and subject to peer review, which of course is a good thing if they can actually get it done. But the point is, it's not just the university, it's also top forensic experts from America who went there. Jesse Michels, he says it over here. Here, top forensic experts in 3 different countries, the United States, Mexico, and Peru, all looked for evidence of finger and toe mutilation and found none of it. They all think these beings were likely once alive and warrant further research. They claim leading surgeons and synthetic biologists would never be able to recreate such complex biological organisms. One of these forensic experts, Josh McDowell, was the president of the American Forensic Association for many years. Even kijken. Yeah, I think that's sort of the main point of this one. And then, like you say, there's also like many ties to ancient history with these beings, right?
Yeah.
Because
the old book Chariots of the Gods.
Yeah.
It was all about that.
Absolutely. And you got these images of that they found, right? I mean, for example, here you got 3 fingers over here. This is of course the body scan, but they often depicted their gods having 3 fingers.
Yeah.
And the Nazca lines, of course.
Exactly.
So
Nazca line is still like, I don't see any other explanation other than like they draw it for aliens to see it. Because they didn't have planes back in the day, so why will they waste so much time?
Yeah, and then like you say, you can only see them from the air. So why make it? And also, how can you coordinate such a big thing without somebody looking from above?
Exactly.
Yeah. So this one is very interesting. In 2017, elongated humanoid mummies with 3-fingered hands were found in Nazca, Peru. Near the famous Nazca lines, DNA testing showed unknown genetic sequences, and their bones don't match any known primate species. What's even weirder, the Inca worshipped 3-fingered deities, including Viracocha, a tall, light-skinned, bearded figure who arrived mysteriously, reshaped civilization, and vanished. Depictions of these gods look suspiciously like the Nazca mummies. And then there's the Chachapoya, the cloud people, who the Inca saw as outsiders. They were tall, pale-skinned, and had elongated skulls, living in fortresses high in the Peruvian mountains. And their legends speak of interactions with sky beings. So, that's super interesting. And then, of course, you have stuff like this. Well, let's first do over here. This is for the people who don't know about the Nazca lines. Those are these kind of images in Peru, created like 2,000 years ago. So these are like gigantic, images that are only appreciated from high up in the air. I think they're like miles and miles across.
It's insane. It looks like a bird, to be honest, you can say it, but it could be like a spaceship.
Yeah, yeah.
Bird like a spaceship.
But even if it's a bird, right? Why would you carve out a bird of this size on the ground?
Yeah.
Like, doesn't make any sense.
Exactly. It could be like a shape of a god, right? Because it looks like a bird, but it looks like a man is standing with a horn.
Yeah. Yeah,
and
yeah.
like wings in the back and the hands with 3 fingers and multiple legs.
Yeah, yeah, or like a gown, like wearing a gown or some kind.
Yeah, it could be a gown. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Or and a headpiece, something like that.
Yeah, like an angel, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Interesting. And then you have, of course, these are well known, but this is like the calendar, like they have these circular.
Oh, that's a famous Mayan calendar.
But what's also interesting to note is that they're circular, like a disc.
Yeah.
Like a solar disc. And
but that was very common, like historically, to draw like calendar in that format, because I think they were trying to mimic the
sun,
and that's how it looks. So it was not like out of our assumption. They could do it because all the ancient civilization was doing the same thing, even
True.
until like 17th century. Everybody was using those sundials, so I won't like say that's anything different.
No, I agree. But this one is, of course, very famous.
Yeah,
This is
Eric
like
von Däniken.
yeah, the original one is over here. Or no, this is not original. I think it's still a replica, but sort of an.
That's how the original is.
Yeah, it closely resembles the original.
Yeah,
yeah, and this one is the interpretation of the artist. But somebody rightly pointed out that if you go down, and that was also my association when I first saw it, it really also looks a lot like Ridley Scott's famous alien sitting in a chair.
True.
Yeah.
Yeah, also, it doesn't have to be exactly like that, because that's an artist rendition. No, I'm talking about the original photo, not the photo, original drawing or original like carving, original painting. That's also an artist rendition, what he saw. And as an artist, I can tell you, we take a lot of liberties.
Yeah.
With what we see, and then what we draw is totally different. So it doesn't have to be like he is sitting like that and looking up. It could be a very different way. And this is how artists decided to design it.
Yeah, you mean the person back in the time who
back in the time, yeah, the original painting I'm talking about.
Yeah.
So that person is an artist, right? So he might have taken some liberties with that.
Yeah, and then you got, for example, critics like this one. He makes an interesting point, actually. But this person over here, he says, you are looking at the grave or the sarcophagus. So don't know how to pronounce it. Lord Pakal Photon, the ancient aliens proponents going back to Van Däniken, from the...
Yeah, Eric von Däniken, famous Chariot of the God.
Chariot of the Gods, would have you believe that this is a depiction of a god going up in a rocket ship. Absurd. And he says, this is the king in his duty as head of the Mayan sky watchers. He looks through an apparatus at the sky. He sees in the sky the feathered serpent phoenix. So if he's right, if this critic is right, and this is, for example, a star sign and representing their god, then still it's amazing, right? Then that means that they had telescopes.
Yeah, and to be honest, I don't buy that Eric von Däniken story that's a rocket ship, but I think this is something they're looking up, and they have some sort of like technology at that time. And they are. I think this is a depiction of someone from Earth, from that culture, is trying to communicate with the god.
Yeah, I think so
some
too.
Technology.
But like you say, it's some kind of weird technology that looks pretty outlandish and exotic, to be honest. It's not like a standard telescope that we are familiar with.
Yeah, I think where Eric von Däniken made a mistake, because he just come to the conclusion that he's sitting in a rocket ship. No, he's not. There could be so many other interpretations over there. And the more rational one is like he's using some sort of technology to communicate with the god, like the alien photo from the movie scene. That makes more sense.
Absolutely, I agree with you. And then here we got some more images. This is of course one of those Nazca mummies. But here you have the paintings of these gods, 3 fingers, 3 toes, like the Varangian. What's it? Varinga. Sorry, I think it was Varinga, right? Varinga.
Yeah, I guess, yeah.
Yeah. And I think I got one over here. I'm just running through these very fast, but
yeah, because like we are more over time now.
Yeah,
we have to do a part 2 for sure.
Yeah. But the interesting thing is, this is all South America. It's Chile, it is Peru, it is Colombia, it is Brazil, and I think I found the one about Atacama alien. Well, at least I can. Yeah, I think it's this one. Give me a moment. No. Anyway, I can show a small clip, but so that people at least have an idea what we're talking about.
Yeah.
So this is the Atacama humanoid, by the way. It's not an alien.
Yeah, that's MRI of that mummy. Yeah, this one I was talking about.
Yeah, but this one is real, so it's not fake. It's actually
Gary Nolan. I wasn't talking. Okay, sure. This one is real.
Yeah, this one is absolutely real, and Gary admits it's real. But what Gary says, Gary Nolan, he says it's real and it's 7 years old or 6 to 7 years old. And he was not the only scientist working on the project. There was also another very famous scientist who specialized in birth defects, who was also working on the case, and then. Stephen Greer presented all evidence. Yeah, but basically, what Gary said at the end was like, okay, it is human because it did have human DNA, right? So he was not lying. It is a humanoid. It's a human like creature or whatever. But he said it just was unlucky and it got all the birth defects on Earth.
Yeah. I will never buy that.
But it was a living, breathing creature that got like 6 to 7 years old because that's
and it's like 6 to 7 inches basically, less than 6 inches. It's like 3 inches,
and it has 10 ribs.
Yeah,
and an elongated skull.
It cannot be a human. Like, okay, birth defect. Why is 6 inch, 3 inch actually?
Because it was unlucky. It had all the birth defects.
Oh, I think I'm mistaking the Mexico mummies who
yeah.
This is different. Okay, now I see. Okay. Oh, by the way, I remember like old legends that there are beings of this size, like 3 inch, 4 inch, under the ground, and it's in like Asian cultures, like South Asian, and that there are people who are like this size, come out sometimes, and then they go back. Sometimes, actually, I'm gonna share you a video. I will try to find it. Maybe we'll play it next time. They actually found a being, and then the kids, being stupid, they killed it, and they have a body to show. Yeah, I'll show it to you after. I will send it to you. We can play it next time.
Well, I think we can play this one actually, because I don't know this clip, but it kind of looks interesting. It's only like 2 minutes long, so.
Okay, let's do it.
So what are we looking at here? The Atacama skeleton definitely looks like an alien. It's 6 inches long, it has a weird, long, bulbous head, and it has 10 ribs when humans are supposed to have 12 ribs. But scientists tell us that Atta is definitely a human. So why does it look like this? Well, in 2013, a scientist from Stanford University got his hands on Atta and decided to sequence her entire genome. And by doing that, he discovered, unfortunately, this is not an alien, it's definitely a human. but he discovered 64 mutations in her genome that we've never seen before. These mutations happen in genes that are linked to skull growth and skeletal development and bone density and the number of ribs you're supposed to have, which might explain why Ada looked the way that she does. The fact of the matter is, those mutations are actually totally alien to us. We've not seen them in humans before, but they're definitely still in a human being.
Case closed. It's just a human being.
Yeah, that's a dumb explanation. I don't think no defect can make human look like that. There is absolutely no chance. I
No,
don't buy it.
and the thing that they're not mentioning is what Stephen. I don't have it, but in the presentation that Stephen Greer gives, and he's, I think, very objective in that particular presentation. At some point, he mentions that we as a human species, we differ like from apes or monkeys. We just it's like, what was it, like 1 or 2% of our DNA is different from an ape or a monkey. And then when you sort of go down to other animals, it's also like a very small difference in DNA that actually changes. All the morphological shapes that you see on planet Earth are actually very slight DNA alterations. But with this particular creature, it had like 9% of unknown DNA. And of course, they still had to, continue sequencing it. So maybe they found out something, but basically the initial finding that they had was that it was 9% different in DNA from us. So that's more than from monkeys or, apes. And that's gigantic difference, right? And it kind of reminds me of the Bigfoot research, the Bigfoot DNA research, where they basically also found, that the DNA from the male side is completely unknown and doesn't match up with anything that we have. But on the female side, it goes back to the Middle East, and I forgot the exact year because they can sort of pinpoint the year, but somewhere before the Common Era. And I believe also with these Nazca mummies, they also, I'm not 100% sure, but I thought they also found the same thing, that that the DNA on the male side is unknown, and on the female side they can trace it, but I'm not 100% sure if it goes to the Middle East or not. But I think they found something similar there. I would have to.
Also, I just sent you a link. Open it on Twitter. The one I was talking about. They also found something in Pakistan back in 2009. I found the link.
Oh, nice.
So we can just show. It's very similar, by the way. It's not exactly the head, because I think the body is rotten here because it's not mummified, but it is like that.
Nice find. I didn't know about this one.
Yeah, and this capture is from actual news channel. It's a big news channel in Pakistan. It's not like a random news. It's like
and they also found one in Russia. Wait.
Sorry, what?
They also found one in Russia.
Russia. So what I'm saying, we found something similar, and just say that this is also a birth defect. I'm not buying it. This is like a race of small people. And then there are legends at least in South Asia and Iran and all those areas, that there are small people, like 4-inch people, who comes out sometime randomly, but they are not.
Anyway, I can't find it. But
and the legend is they are from underground.
Seriously?
Yeah. So they don't come from the sky. They come out from the earth, within the earth. So they are like, there's like a civilization living beings living under the earth, under the ground.
It also, probably also with you, like elves and nymphs, in these ancient stories, gnomes.
Exactly.
These kind of things. But anyway, for the people who want to research this, just type in Atacama, alien or humanoid, and then you'll find a lot of stuff. It's a shame I should have put Stephen Greer's video. It's a really good video.
We will do it next week, next time, whenever we do it.
Yeah, so 1 hour 30 minutes. We'll do the geopolitical stuff. We did a little bit, but we'll do.
Yeah, we'll spend more time on that next time, because
Yeah,
I
we
think by that time we will have a lot more stories. Because the way stories are building up, I think we'll be in the middle of a war.
Yeah.
By next week. But let's see. Let's hope for the best, and let's hope nothing happen. Pray for the
Definitely.
peace.
And also for the people, go watch the Area 52 interview with the Faringa alien. It's super interesting. And also, Timothy Alberino, give him a follow on X. He's also on X, but also his YouTube channel is super interesting. He's also a UFO researcher, interviews many interesting people. And Jesse Michels and Jay Anderson, both super good researchers with a wealth of information when it comes to UFO material. So give them all a follow and check out their content, because it's really amazing and worth your time. We live in interesting times, Sid.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. And next time, we'll probably do one or two. This will be a 2-part, but we'll also do one with the guys from UAP, the podcast.
Yeah, that will be the best one, right?
And
because we're gonna do predictions for the year.
Yes, yes. We're gonna do our 2026 predictions in that one, and it's always a lot of fun hanging with Adam and Topher. So also give them a follow, Breakaway Civilization, and I am Topher, right?
Yeah, Adam and Topher.
Yeah, I think that's the handle. And that's it for today.
No, I think Adam's handle is Breakaway Civilization. But yeah, you will see it on our profiles.
Definitely.
Yeah.
So thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time.
See ya, guys. Bye.